Hi, I'm Sherry Trentini, and today is Suicide Prevention Day, the World Suicide Prevention Day. And each year, I endeavor to share some insights or some tips or whatever I feel that might be of benefit to you regarding suicide prevention. For those of you, if you don't know, in 2009, my husband died by suicide. Our daughters were 8 and 10 at the time. And since that time, I have had sort of a ongoing consumption of information about mental health, about supporting people with mental health problems, about learning more about mental health problems in general, and of course with a special emphasis on suicide prevention, suicidal ideation, and so on and so forth. And since that time, I've been, boots on the ground trying to figure out and get as much information as I possibly can. Also choosing to train in to provide grief recovery for those who have lost some, or, have experienced grief and loss for whatever cause. And of course, suicide being one of those causes. So this winter, I had traveled to my hometown to be in the company of family, who had lost a son and brother who had died by suicide. And it's never a way that you want to reconnect with somebody in any circumstance or cause, but there I am. And on my way back home, I decided to had an opportunity to have lunch with a dear friend of mine. And of course, shared with her why I was there, what was happening, and, sort of unpacking that a little bit. And she shares with me that her company had required all of the managers in the company to take the mental health first aid training, and asked if I had done that. And I'm the what now? For as much time as I have spent looking for resources and looking for tools on mental health, and I have never ever never heard the words linked together, mental health first aid. So do tell me more. What is going on? So as the next day when I'm at home, I immediately start searching for, is this even where I live? Like, how are people accessible to this? Where is this? Like, I needed to, again, do that deep dive research as to find out more of what was going on. And it turns out this has been around for a long time. How it's never come across my radar before, don't know. Doesn't matter. I've got it now. And promptly signed up for a weekend course, like right away within a week of me returning. And I was eager to hear what the premise of this was, and how you can help somebody. Because of course, even though my personal standard first aid certification has lapsed, intuitively I would know what to do, or I would venture to do what I could for somebody who had a physical injury, to stop the bleeding, to take my coat off, to keep them warm, to speak to them and keep them calm, and of course call 911 or wait with them until help arrives, whether it's somebody I know or somebody in my family or don't know or otherwise. So the weekend itself covers a great range of different mental health crises, and has a premise on how best to help somebody in those situations. Now, what stood out for me was an experience that I had. And I think a lot of people, and I was of this mindset too, that like, how is mental health issues and anxiety and depression, like, it's so prevalent in our society? Like, is there something in the water? Is there something in the air? Like, why are so many people experiencing this? But I think it's because it's become we are slowly working to remove the stigmatism around somebody having depression or anxiety or any other mental illness, and that there's more information available. People are being more vulnerable and sharing their information about what they are experiencing, and are and so we feel that, you know, there seems to be an onslaught, but I think it's always been there, but people are just being more open about it. And so when it comes to the mental health first aid, the one thing that in that weekend that I feel very strongly about, and this is the point of my video this year, is that we still have that level of discomfort about asking the question. Asking the question if somebody is thinking about hurting themselves, thinking about hurting somebody else. Maybe they're not actively thinking about it as they're talking with you, but if they have thought about it, you know, how often they've thought about it, and so on and so forth. So we had a scenario that we were given little slips of paper. We were grouped into people pre-pandemic, of course, and had to sort of come together and using the tools taught in the course, how we would approach the situation, what we would do, how would we go step by step by step by step. And so the scenario that we were given is that, you know, our brother-in-law was acting off. He seemed to be drinking a lot more. He was isolating himself from his wife and his kids. They had planned a holiday, which he generally looks forward to and is eager to go camping or whatever activity it was. But this year he told his wife he's not going. He doesn't feel like it, and that her and the kids should go. So right away, as you know, in the scenario, as the family member, something is not right. Something doesn't feel right about hearing this, you know, hearing this story that he's, you know, isolating, that he's maybe drinking more, sleeping less, you know, not his normal self. And so one of the first steps in assessment in the mental health first aid is to do just that, you know, assess whether or not a person is in danger of hurting themselves or hurting others. And so how would you find that out? You know, of course, as you continue to listen and listen objectively and listen more than you contribute to the conversation, so that that person can, you know, you can sort of piece together the whole story. But at my immediate suggestion is that I would ask straight out, are you hurting yourself? Are you thinking about hurting yourself? Are you thinking about hurting someone else? And like, let's just, you know, address the elephant in the room. And that was met with some resistance because that felt like I was being confrontational. And what if they're not having, you know, suicidal thoughts, or what if they're not thinking of hurting themselves? But yet the story tells me that something is way off, and I'm not going to know unless I ask, and I'm going to be straight out. That's the way I roll. Not everybody does that. I totally get that. However, I think the shock value of asking somebody straight up, are you thinking about hurting yourself? Are you okay? Are you safe? Like, what is happening right now? Where are you at? That initial shock of somebody being forward about asking that question, I think the odds of getting a straight answer, an honest response like that, you know, quick response, would give you a really good sense as to where they're at, and, you know, sort of garner, you know, what is the next things that I need to learn. So because I was met with resistance when we were sharing this with the group, this is what I had to say. And this is what I want to share with you, in that if we don't ask the question, if we don't ask what their level of safety is, and if they are thinking of hurting themselves, and And even though we've got that weird feeling in our gut, and maybe, we've got shivers on our arms and legs, if we don't ask, it's chances are because we don't want to offend them, we don't want to upset them, possibly. But it's also because maybe we don't feel equipped in order to handle what their answer is. Maybe we want to know, because we certainly don't want them to hurt themselves or hurt somebody else. But do we really want to do a deep dive and follow this through and be confronted with their honest answer if in fact it is yes? And so that I feel very passionately about being able to listen and to accept whatever the answer is. If I were to confront somebody and ask them because of the stories that they're telling me that no, in fact, they're not, then I will be the first to apologize. Absolutely. And, I will hope that they will forgive me at some point. But if I don't ask the question, then I have all this information, yet I'm not doing anything with it. And so it is a choice that we have to make when somebody is in crisis, or when somebody's telling us just even a casual story that maybe something is not right. So rather than they'll, think to yourself, they'll be okay. That's just, it's nothing. If we don't ask, then we don't really know. And maybe that's what they need to hear. Maybe they need to know that somebody heard them. Maybe they need to know that somebody is listening. And so the next step, whether you have this training or take this training, I think everybody should take this training, but then they know that maybe they've got an ally, right? Maybe they know that they have created a connection, that they can be honest. And so maybe this isn't, grab your sweater and wrap them around them, or keep pressure on the cut that they have endured on their arm. But maybe this is not so much as you should look at the bright side. Look at all the things that you have in your life. Why would you want to do this? Rather than asking those questions or offering those shoulds, maybe it's a chance to say to them, I hear you. How can I help you? How can I help you? That can be a game changer, right? In both situations, in standard first aid or in mental health first aid, it's not about, performing surgery on the street or in your living room and taking care of it, from start to finish. It's about holding that space, holding that wound, holding their attention. Okay, what are we going to do next? Right? Who have you talked to? How can we go forward? How can we, make a phone call to, maybe it's 911 because maybe it's imminent, but maybe it's getting some resources right on that spot on your phone, a local crisis line, being there with them as they talk to somebody, bringing in their spouse or somebody else that can be a supporting member in this process, and actively engaging in helping them navigate the next steps. This isn't about being their therapist. This isn't about being having the answers. Oh, all you need to do is this, this, and this, and all of that stuff all those thoughts will go away. It's not about that. It is about being present, being objective, and being willing to help them get the help that they need and be a support in that process. And it takes bravery to be able to be in that place. It takes bravery for them to share and you to be present, because I have been in that situation where somebody has told me that they think about it. Someone very, 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 very close to me. Okay, so you figure it out. What's the next steps? Where do we need to go? How do we deal with this? And generally it's on the fly. But it's to be able to get out of your own way and out of theirs so that they can share with you what they're thinking, and that you can listen and be objective to what needs to happen next. So, mental health first aid, it is a global course. Chances are, wherever you live in the world, this course, or a course based on the original, is available. This is the course that I took, was the basic course, and there are different levels, or I guess probably different content for different scenarios, for adolescents, for elders, and I don't know if they're coming up with a pandemic isolation version right now, because now in the last few months certainly could have been and can continue to be a source of challenge for people with mental health problems. And this is where getting the information that can be helpful to anybody in your world. And I know that we're not spending a lot of time with other people right now, but you're still having conversations. You can still listen, and you can still be present in that way. So, Suicide Prevention Day 2020, but Suicide Prevention Day is every day. So I encourage you to get the resources that you feel would be of benefit, even whether it's just for personal knowledge, or in the spirit of being able to help somebody that you know, or somebody who you know but don't know that they may need your help at some point. So thank you, and until next time.